And we are back live again. This week, I'm hoping everyone can hear me. So it was really good information. So we're just going to repeat it. And Andy has jumped on so that we've got proof that we are live. We've got proof we can be heard. But what if the reason you don't trust yourself is because you're waiting for the proof that was never meant to come? I had somebody ask me, how do you trust yourself with what you're feeling if you can't prove it? And that's the question. That's when everything shifts, is when you stop needing all the proof. What do you think about that, Andy? Andy is my longtime friend and longevity coach. So joining us again today, like he does so many Tuesdays, keeping us on track.
I love it. I love it. I missed you last week, and that's when all crazy shit went happen, right? But um,
You trusted me alone.
I think it is so true. So many of us is always looking for truth, for proof that things are going in the right direction. And sometimes by doing so, I find that you could be sabotaging yourself.
That is a good word. That
Yeah.
is a good word because, a lot of times we feel something and we just know something and then we don't act on it because we can't explain it.
Hmm.
And that's what intuition is. Intuition is just knowing. So, a couple weeks ago, I was at the Southeast Iowa Metaphysical Fair working with people, and it was really it was a theme that kept showing up with them that, how do I know to trust this? And so what I saw was there's a lot of people that still had a lot of anger, especially in the heart chakra. There was so much anger that they couldn't begin to deal with the grief or the betrayal that kind of triggered it.
Hmm.
And so that's where we just need to trust. We can trust that we feel angry and we can trust that we're feeling that. You can't always put a label on, we can't always touch and feel everything. It's kind of like buying online versus going to the store. I hate buying clothing online because it's not the same and you miss out on that experience of doing that.
Hmm.
So I think that that's really an important thing there is sometimes some things we just know, and when it's coming from intuition and the genuineness of all of that, it's important that we honor that, you know? So if it's anger, that's a protective layer and it really blocks that deeper truth and it prevents that clarity.
Hmm.
When so then when your anger doesn't move, you have the inability to hear,
Correct. Correct.
and that intuition not coming with proof, and it's so hard to not block it though. Think of something, Andy, that when was the last time that you just knew something but you didn't follow it and then you turned out that you were right?
The last time, man, I just can't think of anything right now. That happens to me all the time, but I'm just drawing a blank.
Because I think that it does. It happens,
Yeah.
like deciding if you're going to do something or if you're not going to do something. When we can drop into our own space and in our heart space seems to be a big space that we can feel a lot of this, but sometimes it's going with your gut.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then there was that poem that it only came to my attention recently where the head and the heart divorced, and it's a really cool poem. Oh gosh, I'll have to attach it to this because it really speaks loudly to going into your body. That the
Hmm.
head and the heart have this battle going on, and I've used that terminology since I was probably 10 or 13 years old. Probably not that exact words, but knowing that things in your head and logically, but in your heart you want things to be so different, and knowing that there's that battle, and this was a poem about separating that out and saying, so the author wrote this poem that he divorced, his head and heart had to divorce, and he went into his stomach to sit there and think about it, to sit in his
Hmm.
gut, to feel the feels, and his gut suggested that he go to his lungs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then when you go to your lungs, then you can just sit and breathe. And I think that that's one of those things that we don't do enough of. Breathing's that automatic thing that our body does on its own. But
Hmm.
sometimes we need that reminder to stop and smell the roses, to take a breath and to feel the feels and break out of that conditioning where we feel like we have to prove everything. That fear of being wrong, the fear of judgment, because then we end up doubting our intuition.
Hmm. Hmm. I
So
agree on that for sure.
yeah, and there's so many things. I think there are countless things that we think about doing, and then we think about, oh, should we do this? Should we not do this? And then it's like, nah, that's a silly idea. We tell ourselves it's a silly idea, and then we go on about our day, and then we come back and it's like, man, if I would have just done what I thought about this morning, all of this other wouldn't have happened. And I think sometimes that's the universe popping in to say, follow your intuition, follow
Hmm.
your guidance, follow your heart, and do the things that you want to do. Because when you say, oh, that's silly, the universe comes in and shows you all the reasons it was not silly. And to go with those things, even when you can't prove it. Trust isn't knowing that it's going to work, but trust is moving forward without the proof.
Hmm.
So if we think of that, we think about going by your first response. When someone says, Andy, are you going to join the show today? There was a pause. And it's like,
Yes.
okay, so then what was your first response?
Hmm.
Your first response is, gosh, I've got a lot of things I really need to get done, but I could learn something, I could grow, I could do something, and I'll take these 30 minutes to do this
Hmm.
and make sure there's volume on this recording. But so those are the things that I encourage everyone to really take knowledge, take a breath, if you will, to think about what your first response is. Because you don't build your trust by waiting, you build it by how you respond. And I'm talking about the difference between responding and reacting.
Hmm.
The knee jerk reaction probably was, well, I've got all this to do. It's going to set me further behind or get me off track. I was deep in thought. But those things, and then when you learn how to actually trust yourself without having proof. So you don't actually have proof that joining me today is going to make your day better. You do have the history of going, yeah, she's had some cool stuff before, because you have voiced that in other shows too.
Yes,
And so
definitely.
and so that's when you start really trusting yourself, and you don't jump into big life-changing decisions with this kind of intuition
Hmm.
checking stuff. We're talking those little things. And as you start trusting those little things, then you get to build on those big ones. Um,
I
now,
agree. I agree. It's funny that you're talking about, oh, we're all so busy and we got so many things to do. And to be honest, I think we have all that same excuse. All of us have that. It doesn't matter what your profession is, right? We're always busy. We always have something to do. And it was exactly like you said, when you see going on today, and I was thinking, am I going to join today? And I was thinking, there is something that I always learn when I join. It seems like a very productive time where I can be calm and grounded. So, like I didn't have proof that this is going to improve my day, but looking on past experiences, it does make me more productive because I'm more grounded for the rest of the day. So I think a lot of people, they don't take that time to trust your intuition that this could be a good thing for you, but I don't have the time for it, right? But that gut feeling is like, yeah, I'm gonna join the Amanda today. Both of us have busy days today, but I can carve this half an hour time to uplift my spirit and to be more productive potentially throughout the day.
Well, and I think that it's taking a purposeful break because
Yes.
if not, I'm one of those people. I like to, I get to work, I go down a rabbit hole, and I don't come up for air. And so I use some of the timers that are. I'm going to
Hmm.
mess up the name. Is it the Proton timer? There's a timer where you set it that, every you work for 45 minutes and take a 10-minute break, or however you set it.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
and so I do that while listening to some like ADD background music that keeps me. And I've noticed, you find what works for you in that
Mhm.
respect, but taking that purposeful break.
Yes.
Not every break means taking a nap or playing a video game. It means stepping away from where you were so that you can refresh yourself,
Hmm.
you know? So if we look back at that, that first thought, that first feeling, and paying attention to what your first body reaction is. Was it a head heart battle? Did you go to your gut and how did it feel? Or did you come up to your lungs and just take a breath?
Hmm.
When you pay attention to those first things, then your body responds before your brain has time to argue. And
Correct.
that's your
I like that.
truth.
Yes.
Yeah. Because if your first response is knowing, the second response that comes in is doubt. And
Hmm.
so acting on that first response when you've had an opportunity to pause. And I think that so many times we don't realize how much we override ourselves. I said the example of earlier saying, "Oh, that's silly," or "That doesn't make sense," or "I need more information."
Hmm.
And a lot of times those those are just patterns where you've been conditioned to override yourself. Did you really need to have more information to make the decision? So instead, let's focus, let's shift it up a little bit. So instead of asking the questions or overriding it that it's silly, I
Hmm.
need more info, ask instead of asking, is this right? Think about where the information came, where the question, where it came from. Did it come in calm or did it build in fear?
Mm.
So when things come to you calmly, like, oh, I think I'll go for a walk for this break, versus I've got to make this phone call, I've got to check my list, I got to do all this stuff on this break. When it comes in calmness, it's intuition. When it's urgent or it's spiraling, that's the anxiety.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So, and I know we talked about that whole anxiety. Is this my anxiety? Is this my intuition? What is it? And now we're going to talk about not allowing our intuition to be overridden by all
Hmm.
that thinking. Because that brain, boy, it just wants to take off all the time. So you don't build trust by believing. You are going to build that trust by responding to those first thoughts, first intuitions, and responding to those. You're not proving that it's right. You're
Hmm.
proving to your body that you're going to listen to it.
Hmm. Hmm. So
So,
in these situations, in these two intuitions, does it happen throughout the day? You're asking me, at what point did you experience something this earlier today? And I was saying, man, that happens to me all the time. And I something just came up to me. It's like, well, in Texas, everyone runs a red light. Right? When it's red, and your light turns green on the intersection, you don't go. You wait. You literally wait. But in California, it's the other way around, right? Once it's green, you go, right? Like everyone stops at the yellow. They don't even stop at the red. And it's funny because the other day I was just driving, and it's coming up, like, and it was red, and I'm coming up to the intersection, and it turned green quite a bit. So I'm not even at the intersection. It turned green, and I could just hit the gas and just kept on going. And I was thinking, we're in Texas. right? For just so I just let off the accelerator, like just let off, right? If I stepped on the gas, I would have got T-boned by someone running the red, right? But it was just that split instance, like it's one of those situations. Well, you know, it's green for like half a second already because I wasn't at a standstill, right? I was already moving, and I was like, something's telling me just let off the accelerator, slow down, and I was, oh my god, right? Like that literally would have just clipped me if I kept on going. So yeah, sometimes when your intuition is telling you, even though it doesn't make sense, like I had a full green light, it's been green for like the half a second, 1 second, should be safe to go, right? But I didn't, and it's one of those situations. Wow, you can call your intuition, someone above taking care of you, God, whatever you want to source, whatever it may be, but there was something telling you, hey, just chill. And just that 3 second chilling, maybe I
Mhm.
wouldn't have gotten hit, but I know if I gunned it like I normally do, you know,
And
something
I
would
think that, so to your initial question, yes, we do this all day long. Every time you listen to yourself, even in the smallest way,
happen.
you're rebuilding that trust in your intuition. And every
Correct.
time you override it and overthink it, you reinforce that doubt cycle,
Hmm.
and you shove that intuition down. But as you learn to listen and to not really, we don't have to interpret it. The times it works, it's great and it's amazing. The times it didn't work, it's probably when you didn't listen.
Correct. That's so
So
true.
yeah, so yes, we're making decisions all day long.
Hmm.
And those decisions, like you say, there's the California stop, there's the Texas stop.
Yep.
Chris and I were just talking about that last night as far as um, at the stoplights and everything. And this week is the big DOT 72-hour checking everything. So this is a time to really watch what you're doing everywhere. Don't do anything that's not in the driving testing manual.
Correct, correct, correct. I love that. Is that statewide? I mean, like
Oh,
across the U.S.?
it's national. It's
Oh, no kidding. I didn't even know
yeah.
that. Oh, that's good. Good that you reminded me on that then.
Yeah, you don't have a CDL, so they're looking mostly at CDL stuff. But
Hmm.
there are, well, I'm not even going to go down that because that's a whole thing there in
Correct, correct,
itself.
correct.
We should always be following the traffic laws,
Yes.
but we also know that not everyone does that. Not everyone is paying attention. Not,
Correct.
and so having that intuition and go, oh, I should let off of it. I shouldn't floor
Yeah.
it through a green light, and knowing that, and so just not analyzing it, but going, wow, I'm thankful I listened to that
Hmm.
nudge,
Yes.
whatever that nudge was
Correct.
today. So it's
Exactly.
not about being perfect in all of your messages,
Hmm.
but it's about getting back into that relationship with yourself, with your intuition,
Hmm.
and not doubting it. So,
Correct.
did you have proof when you made that decision to let off the gas? Did you have proof? No.
After the fact, but no, not during the time.
Not when you decided to pull off of that gas, you did not
Exactly.
have proof. And that's the thing that is so hard because we've gotten into such a checking society.
Hmm.
When the little trivia games on social media. Don't Google this. Just answer. Answer from your own knowledge base. And I think that is so important that we really rely on our base, on what we know.
Hmm.
Jeopardy, is Jeopardy even still on anymore?
I think it is
I
actually.
think it is. Okay.
It is.
But we used to watch Jeopardy all the time, and I used to
Right.
really get frustrated because I wasn't really good at it. But I was always worried about being wrong.
Yes.
I always doubted myself because I was worried about being wrong. And when I just learned to just blurt out the facts as I know them, most of the time I was right. I didn't have it always phrased in a question, but but when you really start just pulling it in and listening to it, and we introduced that concept of the empath angel. And
Correct.
so being able to pull in that clarity when the world feels so loud, and sometimes until you really hone into being able to listen to your intuition, you do have to pull that in as being an empath so that you're not getting everybody else's information and everything. To just remember to call on that empath angel,
Hmm.
that this is the part that helps you to see and brings you to that state of calm. And sometimes if you're feeling overwhelmed and over everything, um, then you just put your hand on your heart
Correct.
and just feel that calming, grounding energy. And as you do it as a physical habit, no, you shouldn't always have to do this.
Hmm.
But in the beginning, when you're learning to become more grounded and you're learning to sort out what's yours and what's true,
Hmm.
sometimes we need that physical reminder to do that. So, and that's where we come into our angel card today. Look at me go running the controls here. This is the angel of purification. I bathe myself in the light of my soul every day. When we open our hearts and our minds, our inner sun, we are fully purified by the radiance of its loving light. And that keeps the memory of negativity, all that keeps the memory of negativity cleansed. And in that way, we purify both mind and body. Visualize now the light of your soul filling the entire being and purifying every cell and atom as it radiates everything around you. So kind of thinking of that purity, bringing in that beautiful golden light energy to energize yourself, to fill up your energetic container and just be clear that you don't need proof. And you get rid of that fear of being wrong. And don't allow it to become emotional overload. Because when we overthink, that's when we invite all this other stuff in.
Yes.
So I think it's really, really important to do that. So if we go to a little bit of theta healing today, we can download that you trust your inner knowing, that you're safe and you're safe to feel and understand your emotions. And that clarity is going to come from the trust and being able to really bring everything in, so that you better know what's yours and what's somebody else's. So if you'd like those downloads, just say yes.
Yes.
Yeah, releasing that idea that you can't trust yourself, and having that clarity, that's so important there. So bringing this full circle, whether it's anger or grief or just quiet knowing, your job isn't to prove anything. It's to listen to that intuition. So if this has landed with you, I encourage you to come back every Tuesday for a Transformation Tuesday with Amanda Beth. That's me. 11:30 Central Time. We're on all the platforms, and I think this week we're actually going to be on Instagram with volume.
Love it.
You can always contact me at amandabethhealing.com. If you do /linktree, that's going to give you better direction to any of the socials you want to follow there. So, and tonight, the Chronic Health Collective has Cable interviewing Amanda Cross. And the title is What If the Horse Wasn't the Problem? I know Cable is an amazing energy worker. He works a lot with animals. So this is going to be really awesome. So don't forget to catch this tonight at 7 p.m. Central and every week with the Chronic Health Collective. Anything else you need to add today, Andy?
No, I think that that's amazing. Like you said, trust that intuition, stop questioning it, and stop looking for proof that it is giving you that gentle nudge of whatever good fortune it brings for you today.
Yeah. My nudges are who I need to talk to, who needs to know the information that I have.
Correct. I love
That's
that.
my intuition of, okay, is this time to share what part about me? Or
Mhm.
do I just say hi and smile politely and go on about my business? Is this person receptive? It's one of my biggest nudges that I get, that I need to follow. So,
Amazing.
thanks for joining me today, Andy, and managing all the control stuff there. So we'll see you all next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell if you want the reminders when we're going live.
Goodbye.
Bye.